Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So for today's presentation, our group will be discussing about the paralinguistic and non-verbal features. Our group consists of Razzin, Syafiq, Yasin and Naaghen. Okay. Next. As an introduction, the paralinguistic and non-verbal features are components of communication that convey meanings beyond the words themselves. They play a crucial role on how messages are interpreted and understood. So for today's presentation, we will be discussing about 4 different paralinguistic and nonverbal features. They include pauses, intonation, eye contact, and gesture.
Okay, now I will continue the presentation. So based on the video that our group choose, so I choose pauses as my presentation. So why we use pauses in our speech? So basically, it's not a merely absence of sound, but a strategic tools. So what is the strategy about? So basically, it's to highlight the importance of information, break down complex ideas, and pauses give the audience to react. So basically, there is a lot of types of pauses actually. This is actually new to me too. So it has rhetorical pauses, grammatical pauses, emotional pauses, reflective pauses, and interactive pauses. So basically, we can understand just by the name of the types. But for the rhetorical pauses, it's actually the intentional pauses used to emphasize point. Okay, so next. Okay, so
that I don't think non-procrastinating
let's see the first video first. Okay, let's hear the first video.
Yeah. And they say, "Is this Tim Urban?" And I say, "Yeah." And they say, "We need to talk about your thesis." And I say, "Okay." And they say, "It's the best one we've ever seen." That did not happen.
Okay.
It was a very, very bad thesis.
Okay, from the first video, we can see that the talker purposely stopped his speech because he want to give the time for the audience to laugh. So basically, this is the interactive pauses. And for the next video.
Now, what is going on here?
Okay, pause.
The instant gratification monkey.
Okay, we can see like after he said what is the going on here. So basically, the speaker used the rhetorical pauses. So because after he said that, the thing that he want to say just now is like the important thing. So the pauses he used there to emphasize the point that what he's gonna talk later. Okay, so play the last video, Naaghen.
That's right. I think all of you are procrastinators. Now, you might not all be a mess, like some of us.
Okay.
And some of you may have a...
Like the speaker just now, you might not be a mess like some of us. And there's a pause there. So basically, the speaker tried to use reflective pauses so that the audience can think what's the meaning that the speaker said just now. Okay. That's the 3 example of my types of prelinguistic. Okay, next.
Now I will be presenting about intonation. Now intonation, the melodic pattern of speech, is a critical aspect of verbal communication that involves the rise and fall of pitch throughout spoken language. It transcends mere words, infusing them with emotion, intent, and nouns, thereby enriching the listener's understanding. Intonation is integral to conveying meaning and can dramatically alter the interpretation of a sentence. Now, at its core, intonation is about the highness or lowness of your voice. Unlike monotone speech, where the pitch remains constant, intonated speech fluctuates in pitch, providing a dynamic and expressive quality to spoken language. These variations can occur over individual words or entire phrases, making speech more engaging and effective. Next. So here I inserted 4 different types of intonation. The first one is rising intonation, where it usually uses yes or no questions. Now, in rising intonation, the intonation of your voice goes up. But as for falling intonation, is usually associated with WH question, where the intonation of your voice goes down. We also have non-final intonation, which is a combination of rise and fall of rise intonation. This intonation expresses incompletion and uncertainty. And lastly, we have wavering intonation, where your voice fluctuates or oscillates up and down. Now, this one will express emotions or attitude. Next.
I just wanted to enjoy that one moment when all of you thought, this guy is amazing.
Okay. For the first function of intonation here, as we can see in the video, it is expressing emotions and attitude. Now, intonation is pivotal in conveying a speaker's emotions and attitudes. The same sentence can be spoken with different intonations to express various feelings such as joy, anger, sadness, or surprise. But for instance, when the speaker said, "This guy is amazing," he sounded very excited. This emotional coloring helps listeners gauge in speaker's mood and respond appropriately. Next.
Months turned into 4, and then 2, and then 1. The people of TED decided to release the speakers. And I opened up the website, and there was my face staring right back at me, and guess who woke up?
Okay, for example number 2, it is about differentiating sentence types. Intonation helps distinguish between statements, questions, and commands. A rising intonation at the end of a sentence typically indicates a question, while a falling intonation signifies a statement. So, as the example here, the speaker said, there was my face staring right back at me, and guess who woke me up?" So, at the end of his sentence, he ended his speaking with a question. Without intonation, the listener might struggle to understand the speaker's intent, which might lead to confusion. Next.
But then came my 90-page senior thesis, a paper you're supposed to spend a year on.
Okay, for my last example, is highlighting important information. Intonation aids in highlighting important information, where a sentence, by stressing certain words or phrases through pitch variation, the speakers can indicate what they consider most significant. For example, in the sentence you heard here, the speaker said, "The paper you're supposed to spend a year on." So he placed a higher pitch on the word year to emphasize the time limit given. Now, this feature is particularly useful in ensuring that key points are not overlooked by the listener. And as a conclusion, intonation is crucial in speaking language by adding meaning, emotion, and emphasis beyond the words themselves. It helps express feelings, clarify sentences, and highlight key information. This is especially important in cross-cultural interactions where different intonation patterns can impact understanding. That is all from me. Thank you.
All right. Next, I'll be presenting about the eye contact aspect. So, actually, what is eye contact? Eye contact is actually an act of looking directly into another person's eyes. It is mainly used to convey various messages and emotions, including interest, affection, or attraction. It can also be used to demonstrate attention and engagement, showing that you are actively listening to the speaker. So, why is this eye contact really important? First, it indicates attention and interest. Making an eye contact shows that you are paying attention and are engaged in the conversation. It signals to the other person that you are listening and interested in what they will have to say. The second point will be it builds connection and trust. Eye contact can help build a connection and establish trust between individuals. For instance, like when someone maintains eye contact, it often conveys sincerity, confidence, and openness. And lastly, it conveys emotion. The eyes can express a wide range of emotions such as happiness, sadness, anger, or even surprise. So this eye contact can also indicate this intention and feeling, such as agreement, disagreement, or understanding. Right. Next, we'll be looking into the types of eye contact with the examples from the video earlier. The first type of eye contact will be deliberate and inclusive eye contact. We'll have a look at it.
Now, what is going on here? The instant gratification monkey does not seem like a guy you want behind the wheel. He lives entirely in the present moment. He has no memory of the past, no knowledge of the future, and he only cares about two things: easy and fun. Now, in the animal world, that works fine. If you're a dog and you spend your whole life doing nothing other than easy and fun things, you're a huge success.
All right. So as you'd have realized, the speaker, Tim Urban, he makes deliberate eye contact with different sections of the audience. So what he did is he basically broke down the audience into smaller, manageable parts. And the aim of this eye contact is actually a strategic and inclusive way to engage with the entire audience. It's also to make them feel more a part of the narrative that he's trying to convey. So the next one will be intense and sweeping eye contact. We'll have a look at it.
Now, the panic monster is dormant most of the time, but he suddenly wakes up anytime a deadline gets too close or there's danger of public embarrassment, a career disaster, or some other scary consequence. And importantly, he's the only thing that the monkey is terrified of. Now, he became very relevant in my life pretty recently because...
Yes, as you'd have realized, when the speaker describes about the panic monster, his eye became more intense and sweeping across the audience. This reflects urgency and anxiety, emphasizing the shared experience of panic. This intense and broad eye contact also helped him to convey the suddenness and intensity of the character he's describing. So he's like looking at everyone with an intense eye contact. The last one will be introspective and purposeful eye contact.
So I read these emails and I had a little bit of an epiphany that I don't think non-procrastinators exist. That's right. I think all of you are procrastinators. Now, you might not all be a mess, like some of us. And some of you may have a healthy relationship with deadlines. But remember, the monkeys...
Yes, right there. So the speaker reflects on the broader implication of procrastination. So what he did was he actually hold his eye contact by focusing on individuals. This creates a moment of connection, and also he tries to convey that he's actually serious in what he's trying to say. This type of eye contact signals the significant weight of his message about the long-term impact of procrastination. That's all from me.
Okay, so Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Yasin, and I'll be presenting about gesture. So first of all, gestures during speech, especially, can actually enhance communication by emphasizing points, expressing emotion, and also aiding in audience engagement. So I've listed 4 gestures that are normally used during speech. So the first one is illustrative gestures, which is a visualized verbal content. A way you can do this is by pointing or indicating size or shape. So the next one would be emphatic gesture, which emphasize important points. So for example, a fist bump or open hand. And then the next one is descriptive gesture, which describes object or action. So let's say you were talking about writing something, or you were talking about your driving, so you can mimic the action that you are talking about. And the next one would be metaphoric gesture, which represents an abstract idea visually. So you are talking about something that is in words, in letters, but you want to describe it visually. So you're spreading hands apart to show a broad concept. So why would you want to do gestures during speech? So the number one thing that I think everyone can agree on is that it's quite boring when you are listening to someone without any gesture. They just stand still, they're static, and it's very boring, you know. And sometimes you don't really get the message that they're trying to pull through. So this is why you need gesture. Okay, next slide. Alright, so I have 4 pictures here from the video on gestures. So the first one from the left, the topmost left, is about pointing. Then the one on the right is also somewhat of a pointing. The bottom left would be emphasizing a point, and the bottom right would be showing he's trying to express his emotion. So from all of these pictures, you can see that it is much more engaging when you actually see someone doing gestures. So it won't be such a boring presentation. And I think another thing that is very important here is trying to show the sort of gravity of what you're trying to explain. So like, if for say you were saying how big a fish you caught, you would say you caught this big of a fish. So it's much better than just saying I caught a big fish. Than just saying, sorry, it's much better to say I caught a fish this big, to visualize and sort of connect with the audience than just, you know, putting your hands on your back and just say I caught a big fish today. So it gives a much deeper meaning towards the stuff you say, and it also helps audience to grasp the sort of idea that you are portraying. I think that's all for me. Thank you.